Hey kids, it's Mrs. Wright here. I'm ready to tell you our next story called Where's Winona? This is Mapio, a Lakota Sioux girl. Why do you think she looks so happy? Every year, Mapio looks forward to moving with her family to their summer camp. After several days of traveling from their winter camp, they have finally arrived at Mapio's favorite place. They have moved here to hunt buffalo. While the men hunt for buffalo, Mapio and her family will live in their special spot with other Lakota Sioux families until the days shorten, signaling fall. This is Mapio's family. Her mother, her father, her grandmother, her little sister, Toshno, and her baby brother, Chaitin. Do you see anything else in the picture that is made from buffalo skins? Yes, their clothes and moccasins are made of buffalo skins, and their teepees, or houses, are made from the buffalo too. Think how easy it would be to carry your house with you if you lived in a teepee. Teepees are easily taken apart and put back together again. Look closely at this picture. Do you see the two poles near the horse's head? A frame is connected to the poles behind the horse, forming a travois, a type of sled used to pull the family's teepees and other belongings. What do you see in this picture? Mapio and her family never stay in one place for long. Lakota Sioux families moved frequently, following the buffalo all across the plains. Mapio's mother is the one who always packs and unpacks the teepee and belongings. Before leaving the winter camp, Mapio's mother piled their clothing, blankets, and rugs onto the backs of horses. Many things were loaded onto a travois. Even grandmother and Toshno rode on a travois. Chaitin traveled in a cradle board on mother's back. A cradle board is a board that many Native American tribes use to carry babies around. Mapio packed her toys into a parfleche, a small bag made of buffalo hide. She took special care with her doll, Winona, wrapping her up in a little fur blanket before putting her into the parfleche. Mother made Winona for Mapio. Mother always helped Mapio sew clothes and little beaded moccasins for the doll. Mapio loves Winona very much. The Lakota Sioux are busy setting up their new summer camp. Their teepees form a circle with all the doorways facing in the same direction, east, away from the strong winds that blow across the plains from the west. They are set up in order of the family's importance. Since the chief is the person in charge of the tribe, his teepee is the most important. Mapio's father is a respected hunter and warrior, or fighter, so his family's teepee is placed near the chief's. Mapio's family will raise its teepee beside some cottonwood trees. Mother leans Chaitin's cradleboard against a tree trunk in the shade. He is fast asleep. Mapio usually has to watch over little Toshno, but today grandmother will look after her. She will take her over to visit Mapio's aunt because her teepee has been raised already. Mapio is glad to be given a break. Toshno is always getting into mischief. Getting into mischief? means getting into trouble for doing something naughty or against the rules. Mother starts raising the teepee's frame with its long, thin wooden poles. To build the teepee, Mother ties 3 poles together using a long rope. She pulls them upright to form the shape of a triangle. This makes a strong base. Then she adds more poles to the frame, leaning them against the notch formed by the 3 poles at the top. The teepee cover is attached to the last pole. Lifting that pole up at the back of the teepee, Mother leans in onto the other poles. Then Mapio helps her pull the cover around the poles, making the walls of the teepee. They join the 2 sides of the cover with pegs, leaving an opening for the doorway under the last peg. During the hot summer months, they will roll the teepee cover up from the bottom to let in air. The smoke hole at the top of the teepee can be opened or closed, allowing smoke to escape or air to flow in. At last the teepee is completed. Mapio thinks about her own toy teepee. She wants to set it up for her doll, Winona. Mapio took the toy teepee apart before packing it and will put it together again just as her mother did with the family's teepee. By copying her mother in her play, Mapio learns how to do things she will have to do when she is a grown-up. Mapio finds the parfleche in which she packed her toys lying open on the ground. She reaches inside and pulls out the soft deerskin teepee cover and the little wooden poles. Winona's little fur blanket is there too. But Winona is not inside the blanket. Mapio pulls everything out of the bag. No Winona. Worried, Mapio searches through the other bags, but her doll is not inside any of them. Did Winona fall out of the bag while the family was traveling here? Is the little doll lost in the long grass that covers the plains? So much grass. Such a long trip. If Winona fell out along the way, how will Mapio find her? Mapio's father finds her searching for Winona in the long grass. Have you seen my doll? Mapio asks him. No, he answers. I found my parfleche open. Maybe Winona fell out along the way. Don't worry, father says. I was the one who took all the parfleches off the horses when we got here. None of them were open. Your doll could not have fallen out along the way. Mapio joins her mother, who has made a fire and is starting to cook. Father tightens his bow as Chayton continues to sleep. Mother, have you seen Winona? Asks Mapio. No, says Mother. I haven't seen your doll. Just then, Chayton wakes up and starts to cry. Of all the family, Mapio is the best at getting Chayton to stop crying. She goes over to the tree, makes a silly face, and sticks out her tongue. Chayton stops crying. He laughs and laughs, and that's when Mapio sees them. Do you see what Mapio sees? 2 little beaded moccasins poking upside down from the cradle board. She tugs hard. Out come the legs, then the dress, then the arms and head of Winona. Mapio gives Winona a big hug. Mapio asks, How did you get in there, silly girl? At that moment, Toshno toddles over from Auntie's teepee, with grandmother trying her best to keep up. Toshno sees the doll. Nona, she exclaims. She pulls Winona out of Mapio's hand and sticks the doll back inside Chayton's cradle. Now I know who did it, says Mapio. It was little sister. You are right, Mapio, says Mother. I suppose tomorrow I will have to make Toshno a doll of her own. I hope you liked that story. I have a couple questions for you. Did Mapio and her family live in one place all the time? Pause the video and tell someone who's watching with you. How often and why did they move? What kind of house did Mapio and her family live in? Describe the clothes that Mapio and her family wore. Describe how you would set up a teepee. What jobs did women have in the Lakota Sioux tribe? In the story you heard, Toshno is always getting into mischief. Say the word mischief with me. Mischief. Mischief. Getting into mischief is being naughty or getting into harmless trouble. When Raj's grandmother saw him digging up her plants, she told him to stop getting into mischief. Have you ever gotten into mischief? Try to use the word mischief when you talk about it. One time I got into mischief when I was playing in the basement. Your turn. Pause the video and say the sentence. One more time. What's the word we've been talking about? Now I have a fun game for us called Stand Up or Sit Down. I'm going to read you some sentences that may or may not describe someone getting into mischief. If you think that I describe an example of getting into mischief, stand up. If you think it's not mischief, sit down. Are you ready? Carl put a fly in his sister's water glass. Is that getting into mischief? It is. You should be standing up. Next one. Tanya opened the door for her mother. That's not getting into mischief. You should be sitting down. Next one. Derek carefully put his toys back in their correct places. That's not getting into mischief. I hope you're sitting down. Next one. Maya pulled the blankets off the bed that her mother had just made. That's getting into mischief. I hope you're standing up. Angelou poked his sister's back. That's getting into mischief. I hope you're standing up. Good job, students. That's all for today. We'll check in with you soon.